Recently, Stephen Perry, the son of Jack Perry, the icebreaker of China-UK trade and the chairman of the 48 Group Club, accepted an exclusive interview with Southern Metropolis Daily and Video. He said that some of the current so-called decoupling or de-risking from China were a regression in history, and that the international community should move forward in the direction of building a human community with a shared future.
Would you first introduce yourself briefly?
Okay, my name is Stephen Perry. I'm chairman of the 48 Group Club. My father started all this 70 years ago with the icebreaker mission and starting London Export Corporation. So we've done business with China for 70 years and I've done it for 50 years. So we've got some experience and I studied law in London and I like football and I like bridge and I like Chinese food.
How do you feel about receiving this congratulatory letter?
It was a big surprise. It was very nice to receive it. I always read his words carefully because he doesn't waste words. So it was very nice. Many people commented to me. We got a letter from our president. Congratulations. It means a lot to Chinese people as well as to us. It was good.
In your opinion, in what areas are the opportunities for Sino-British cooperation?
Well, I think the first thing to say is that we've been through a difficult period in relations, and that makes it more obvious that China has been trying very hard to keep the relationship going and to keep it open. And we must thank China for taking that open-minded approach and not being put off by some people saying some things which were not very nice. China has been very patient and supportive with the relationship with the UK. That's the first thing to say. The second thing is that when the president says it, it's more important because there's nobody higher that can propose a good relationship between Britain and China than the president. And when he says that, it's because you need to think about what it's about. So the president to be saying to us, we hope that we can develop cooperation. I mean, it looks to us as if Britain needs China, and we in China are happy to give our support to the United Kingdom. And that's good. So I think the chances are good that things will get better. Well, I think the Greater Bay Area is at an early stage of development. It's 3 areas which are cooperating together. It's clear that Hong Kong is a powerful city with a long history of engaging in all sorts of activities. British companies are still in Hong Kong, and Chinese companies are increasingly coming to use Hong Kong as a base for a number of different things, including finance. When you look at Shenzhen, it's a gleaming example of innovation, and for the British, very interesting to have contact with Shenzhen and participate with Shenzhen. And for the Chinese, it's a very interesting place to meet the British. We would say to our members of the 48 Group that the Greater Bay Area will be a major trade and investment area for China, for ASEAN, for Western countries, for many years to come. Companies like HSBC, which is a big bank, British owned, well, that's already there. It's very well established. It's got a very large workforce. It makes a lot of income in the area, and it will continue to, and it will build out into the Greater Bay Area. I want to lead a mission to Guangdong, to Guangzhou, and get a clearer idea of the pace of their development. I think they've got a lot to do to build the links between the cities, to open the cities up to each other before the big opportunities really arise for foreign companies. But, and it's a big but, there's the RCEP breaking new ground across East Asia. There's ASEAN, and now the Greater Bay Area and Hainan Island. I think that major companies need to take this whole area as being very important. but it will be a little bit difficult for them to do in the short term because the level of business will take some time to develop, but a great opportunity for the medium term. I think that the opportunities will take control of the situation, and people will get on planes and fly to airports in the Greater Bay Area, not just through Hong Kong, through Shenzhen and Guangzhou. All these airports will be built into future modern airports. I was just in Beijing and saw the new Beijing airport. It's huge. But I also tell you that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I went to Urumqi, and the airport there was phenomenal, and the roads around it were phenomenal. And people said to me, "Where's the passengers?" And I said, they'll come. China invests first and develops second. So I think that somebody from Germany, I think, has just said what I said 15 years ago, that Urumqi will be the natural entry area for Europeans to China, because it's only 6 or 7 hours flying time from Frankfurt. So you can get on a plane in the morning and you could be there in the afternoon. If I was a British company and I wanted to be significant in Asia, I would be looking at the Greater Bay Area as maybe the area where I would create my headquarters for Asia and for China. Some people say, well, we can do business with Asia and not bother with China. I say that's a fantasy. The economy which will drive Asia is China. And if you don't want to be where the drivers are, then I think you're going to waste a lot of money.
What you mentioned about just now is China with the whole world is in very close relationship between each other. But at the same time, we also heard that there are some theories like decoupling and also de-risk with China. What's your opinion on these theories?
If some people want to drive history backwards, they can. And the people who want to get into decoupling and de-risking, why they're talking like this is they have a belief that somehow you can hold the past, you can hold the future back, and you can go to the past. That does not line up with history. The world is opening up. You're not going to be able to tell a young man in Africa you can't go to Asia. You can't tell a young lady in Asia you can't go and work in South America. They can, and they will. And they'll write home and they'll talk about it, and their families will come and see them. And more people will travel across the world to find jobs, to find happiness and what they want. I find that when I talk to Chinese students in the UK, they know more about the world than the British will ever know. And that's at a young age of 18, 20, 22. It's because that's the way they're brought up to be part of the world. It's got to do with Confucius and everything since. The Chinese people work harder than almost any other nation in the world. And I don't think that's going to change. So when you talk about the relationship between China and the UK, the Chinese have it much more clearly thought out than the British of where and how this can go. You'll see a lot of Chinese businesses coming to Britain, a lot of Chinese cities coming to Britain, wanting to get investment into China and wanting to invest with those companies here and take those businesses to China. I think it'll go quite well. I think in the end, money talks, and the opportunity for investment from China will be of great importance to the British people and the British economy. And we're very lucky to have a country like China wanting to invest in us. The opportunity for the British to go to China in large numbers to study and to understand Asia from China would be very good. I think British companies will find that this great market, the greatest market of the world in the future will be the Asian market. And the center of that Asian market will be China. So the best place for the British companies to go to be successful in Asia will be China, and to work outwards from China. So I think the prospects are very good.
During the year of 1972, it was the first time you have been to China with your father. And also during that time is President Nixon of the United States that visit China trying to improve the relationship between countries. So I wonder what are those reasons that drive you to China to help relax the relationship between the United States and China?
Because my father told me to. He said China had asked him to be the icebreaker between China and the United States. For me, it was a big new world that was opening up. The world of China, a young man with a great interest in international relations and in business and economics. You couldn't wish to be in anywhere better than that opportunity in 1972. I was just fascinated by it.
You have been to China the first time in 1972, and also when
Yes.
you leave, you just pass by Shenzhen, right, and go to Hong Kong and go back to the United Kingdom.
At that time, it was a small fishing village. If you blinked, you'd miss it. Now it's a great big gleaming city.
What do you think about this continuation of exchanges between people to people?
I think that that will continue, but in a much bigger way in the future.
What are those aspirations that you made on these young icebreakers?
We started the Young Icebreakers because I think the future is about youth. And I wanted them to think about China and to get to meet China and so on. Then some people made some difficulties for us and we got slowed down. But my son, who was chairman of the Young Icebreakers, will take over the 48 group from me in a few months' time. And he will bring through a new young lifeblood into the work that we do. And that's the way of the future, is to bring the young people into contact with each other and to make them feel comfortable with each other and to work together and study together, go to parties together, dance together, eat together. That's the way of the future of the world, for people to be able to be together. It doesn't mean you've got to be surrounded by lots of people from lots of different countries, but it means you've got to be able to go out and participate with people from other countries. That's how you learn, that's how you get the vigor to develop. So that's the theory of the Young Icebreakers. I'm quite sure it's right.
下载 N 视频 APP，N 种方式打开世界。